My in-laws, leaving my mute and bedridden sister-in-law in my care, decided to jet off on a vacation to Singapore. Right before their departure, my husband Leo had the audacity to say, "Taking care of her is your job, don't slack off." The moment Leo and his family left the house, my sister-in-law miraculously sat up and declared, "Okay, let's get going too." I'm Ava, 27 years old, and once dreamed of becoming a pop star as a teenager. However, that dream faded, and before I knew it, I was in my late 20s. I started dating Leo, whom I met through a friend, because my persistent mother kept asking when she would see her grandchild. In conversations with Leo, I learned that he too had once aspired to enter the entertainment industry in his youth. Despite our shared past aspirations, Leo now works at a prestigious trading company headquartered in downtown Manhattan. After college, I worked at a bank until I got married and quit. One day, Leo and I visited his parents' house. Leo's younger sister, Emma, fell ill with a fever during her childhood. Initially dismissed as a common cold by her mother, they eventually sought medical attention when the fever persisted. It turned out to be encephalitis caused by influenza. Unfortunately, by then, it was too late, and the prolonged high fever left Emma with brain damage, rendering her bedridden. The fever also affected the part of her brain controlling speech, leaving her unable to communicate verbally. My mother-in-law took on the primary caretaking role for Emma. Despite Emma's condition, we developed a close bond, and I always anticipated visiting Leo's family. Since she couldn't converse verbally, Emma used sign language. Over time, I naturally picked up sign language as well. One day, I signed to Emma, "We're like best friends who've known each other forever, aren't we?" She replied, "Yes, we are. Let's stay close friends forever." I assured her, "Of course we will." However, my mother-in-law, in complete contrast to Emma, consistently directed sarcasm towards me. Leo and I reside in a condo, approximately a 23-minute drive from his parents' house. Yet my mother-in-law occasionally drove over unannounced, nitpicking at various aspects, like Ethan's supposedly filthy shoes, claiming it reflects poorly on his work and making it my responsibility to keep them clean. My mother-in-law persistently referred to Leo as Ethan, emphasizing, "Make sure you always fold the laundry neatly. If you don't, Ethan will be in a bad mood." She, being the one who raised Leo with these peculiar expectations, insisted, "No matter how late Ethan gets home, you must never go to bed before him, even if Ethan says it's okay for you to go to bed first." Such old-fashioned demands were a constant from her. During our dating and early marriage days, Leo was genuinely kind, always agreeing with me. If I wasn't feeling well and asked to have dinner outside, he readily agreed. If I fancied a designer bag, he'd buy it for me the following month. However, about a year into our marriage, Leo's behavior started to change. Or perhaps he reverted to his original self. He began arriving home late, reeking of alcohol. Leo claimed increased work commitments on Saturdays and Sundays, avoiding joining me when he occasionally visited his parents' home, which struck me as odd. Fed up, I decided to confront him one day, saying, "Leo, you've become so distant lately. It feels like you're a completely different person." Leo glared at me momentarily before retorting, "That's not true. You're overthinking things." I expressed my concern, noting that it seemed like you rarely engaged in conversation with me anymore. Advising you to stop overthinking, I urged you to drop the topic. In response, you walked away to take a shower, effectively ending the conversation. 2 days later, Leo surprised me by announcing his plans to go home that Sunday. Taken aback, as Leo had consistently declined my company on previous visits, I tentatively suggested accompanying him this time. He responded by questioning my willingness, to which I eagerly affirmed my desire to join. Expressing my interest in seeing Emma, Leo frowned slightly and remarked on the apparent camaraderie between Emma and me. On Monday, I drove us to Leo's family home in Derry. En route, we made a stop at a bakery to purchase pastries as a thoughtful gesture. Upon arrival, Leo's mother greeted us with her customary frown, seemingly displeased to see me. Undeterred, I offered her the pastries in an attempt to lighten the atmosphere, addressing her as a prospective mother-in-law. She swiftly took the pastries from my hands, examining them before responding with a touch of disdain. "Is it these pastries again? They're becoming rather mundane. But since you insist, I'll have them." Despite her initial indifference, her face lit up like a child receiving a cherished toy. Leo inquired about his father's presence, and I learned that Leo's father, though elderly, remained actively engaged in work. Upon discovering that he was currently out at a meeting, Leo casually mentioned that he had something to discuss with him. Intrigued, I questioned Leo about the matter, expressing my surprise at not having been informed by him. Leo, however, dismissed my inquiry with a curt, "It's none of your business." I pushed back, reminding him that we were a married couple and suggesting he stop evading the topic. Irritated, Leo retorted, "Can you just stop nagging?" His mother chimed in, saying, "Exactly. If Leo doesn't want to tell you something, you shouldn't be prying." Realizing that arguing with her would be futile, I chose not to respond. At that moment, Leo's sister entered the scene, exclaiming, "Oh, Leo, you're here!" Seizing the opportunity, Leo began discussing something he apparently wanted to share with her, prompting her to inquire, "What is it?" I found myself contemplating the prospect of an extended vacation next month, with Leo proposing a family trip to Singapore. However, my sister declined the offer, citing the absence of a passport. This revelation left me momentarily surprised, considering Leo's typically demanding work schedule and infrequent breaks. Concerned, I asked Leo about his job, wondering if everything was all right. Leo assured me that his work was going fine, but my mother-in-law appeared displeased with my involvement in Leo's business affairs. She expressed her disapproval with a deep frown, asserting that I shouldn't meddle in decisions Leo had made, accusing me of being overly nosy. In the midst of this tension, she disclosed the true reason for our meeting. In a rather unexpected turn of events, she declared, "Ava, I want you to take care of Emma during the time we're on vacation." I was initially taken aback by the responsibility thrown my way, but soon the realization dawned on me that spending time with Emma would likely be more enjoyable than embarking on a trip to Singapore with my mother-in-law. I agreed to take care of Emma, questioning why Leo had brought me all the way here for such a simple request. Leo explained that he believed conveying the message in front of his mother would lead to a quicker understanding on my part. It seemed he assumed that the presence of his mother would add a sense of urgency to the matter. Upon discovering that my Singapore trip was off the table, Leo's peculiar desire for my mother-in-law to forcefully sway my decision became evident. Feeling perplexed, I left the room and made my way to Emma's room. Emma greeted me with delight, asking how I had been. After explaining that Leo had invited me to join him at our parents' house, Emma noted the peculiarity of the situation. She remarked on Leo's past habit of excluding me from his visits, indicating that my brother was undoubtedly hiding something. Despite Leo's impending trip to Singapore, I decided to stay back, finding solace in the idea. With a smile, I shared my decision with Emma, who responded with a matching grin, suggesting that I come over and stay at her place. I agreed, and we spent an enjoyable time chatting. Emma, who always struck me as different from my mother-in-law, seemed supportive of my choice. An hour later, Leo came to fetch me, and we returned home. During our departure, Emma subtly winked at me, hinting at a shocking truth and an even more astonishing plan that she was about to unveil. A month later, on the day of the Singapore trip, Leo and I visited his parents' house. Despite not being part of the Singapore journey, I brought my luggage along, intending to stay at my in-laws' place for a week with Emma. As I carried my luggage into Emma's room, she exclaimed with a playful grin, "It's finally happening!" Returning to the living room, I found everyone bound for Singapore already gathered. Notably absent was Leo's father, indicating that he wasn't joining the trip. As the departure time approached, the entire family, with Leo's voice standing out, emphasized that taking care of Emma was my responsibility, urging me not to slack off. Even my mother-in-law added, "Please get along well with Emma. It's better for you to stay here, isn't it? If anything happens to Emma, it's all your fault, and we'll hold you responsible." Despite the absurdity of these words coming from someone about to leave their immobile sister for a vacation, I chose not to react. Leo's statements held no significance for me at that moment, and I wasn't in the mood to see them off. Returning to Emma's room, I was interrupted as Emma energetically sprang up from her bed, calling out, "Come on, let's get going." This echoed a recent conversation where Emma had revealed her newfound ability to walk and engage in conversations. Curious about a revelation I had just learned, I asked Emma, "Since last year, I suppose, why have you been hiding this from the rest of the family?" Emma then embarked on an unexpected narrative, sharing, "Actually, my father and mother are both remarried. I'm my dad's child from his previous marriage, and my sister and brother are from my mom's side." Although surprised by this disclosure, considering the usual distant and cold demeanor of my mother-in-law towards Emma, I couldn't help but think, I thought so. is that so? Emma confirmed, yeah, my mom despises me and I didn't want to talk to her, so I pretended that I couldn't. Curious about her father's stance on the matter, I inquired, and your father? Emma assured me, Dad knows everything. He's always on my side. Understanding the complexities of Emma's family dynamics, I simply responded, I see. Emma then dropped a bombshell, proposing, that's why, regarding this trip to Singapore, I'm thinking we should go too. Confused, I asked, what do you mean? She clarified, I mean, I'm planning to go to Singapore on the same day with you. We'll even stay at the same resort, delivering this unexpected revelation with a sparkle in her eye that caught me completely off guard. I'd be thrilled to go to Singapore with you, Emma, but do you even have a passport? Of course. I secretly got my passport last month, and don't worry about the expenses. My dad is covering our plane tickets and the resort, including yours. I see. I'm really looking forward to this. And that's how we found ourselves at the airport today, Emma and I, arriving via taxi. My father-in-law was there, waiting to see us off. Ava, it's been a while. I know it must be surprising, but I hope you enjoy the trip to Singapore. Thank you, father-in-law. I feel guilty for all the plane tickets and resort fees you've covered. Don't worry about it. As long as you two have fun, I'm happy. Thank you for your kindness. After that, we boarded a plane from a different airline than usual. In the early morning, our arrival in Singapore marked the beginning of our stay. Opting for a taxi from the airport, we checked into the resort hotel, where Emma and I were to share a room. During a casual conversation, I mentioned to Emma, your father seems pretty well traveled. Yeah, he's been on several international business trips. He's even been to Singapore a few times. Curious about the evening plans, I speculated. So, what's the plan? I'm guessing my mom and everyone will dine at the restaurant here tonight. I'm thinking of surprising them. That sounds like fun. I'm excited. Should we get some rest to recover from jet lag? That sounds like a good idea. I couldn't sleep at all on the plane. After a refreshing shower, we climbed into bed and quickly fell asleep, only to wake up around late afternoon close to 3 o'clock. Emma, already awake, had begun the process of applying makeup. I'm sorry I slept too much. Don't worry about it. I just woke up too. We really had a good sleep, didn't we? Fully recharged and ready for our battle. Around 5 o'clock, I told Emma, I'll go and check the restaurant. As I discreetly surveyed the restaurant's entrance for Leo and his party, I found them joyfully dining in a far-off spot. Realizing I was too far away to identify anyone, I ventured deeper into the restaurant. From my new vantage point, all I could see were their backs, making it challenging to recognize anyone. However, I noticed the back of a young woman I didn't recognize, and it struck me that there wasn't such a woman when they had left Leo's parents' house. Taken aback, I nearly let out a loud gasp, but managed to suppress it. Straining my ears, I could intermittently hear Leo and my mother-in-law's voices. I'm glad it's not that woman today. Yeah, I really drew the short straw. She's tainted my family record. If only we had an elegant daughter like her from the start. I want to divorce her and start fresh soon. Try to find a reason for the divorce and extract a hefty alimony from that woman. Even without a cause for the divorce, it's fine. I can fabricate as many as I want. She's so bad that I want to throw her in the trash. I want to see my grandchild from you and her soon. My mother-in-law was giving the woman a smile that she had never shown me before. Driven by the urge to step forward and confront the woman, I held it in, returning to my room. When I told Emma about it, she asked, "Took a while." I'm sorry, I saw something shocking. Leo brought a woman that I've never seen before. What? I was about to scream. Leo and my mother-in-law were continuously bad-mouthing me, and Leo even mentioned finding a reason for divorce. That's terrible. Leo called me a bad catch, but seeing him with another woman, I felt relieved. Now I can divorce him outright. That's a good thing. Shall we make our entrance then? Emma and I headed towards the restaurant hall. Upon entering, we requested to sit near Leo's table and managed to get a seat quite close to them. They didn't notice our arrival. Sitting nearby, we overheard their conversation, which continued to be filled with derogatory comments about me. I was amazed and ended up giving a bitter smile at how they could badmouth me indefinitely. Emma gave a nod and a smile, signaling the start of our counterattack. I stood up, moved towards Leo, and exclaimed, "Are you all having a good time?" The expressions on Leo and my mother-in-law's faces were unforgettable in that moment. Their mouths agape, eyes wide open, they froze for a few seconds. After a moment, my mother-in-law finally spoke. Why are you here, and how did Emma get here without a wheelchair? In response, Emma stood up, offered a smile to my mother-in-law, and said, I don't need a wheelchair. Thanks to you, my body and speech have returned to normal. I must have caused you quite a bit of trouble for a long time. My mother-in-law, still stunned, asked, Emma, when did you regain your ability to speak? I wonder when that was, maybe last year. Then why did you hide it until now? Because it was better if you guys continued to believe that I couldn't speak. You and Leo were speaking ill of me earlier, weren't you? My mother-in-law's face turned pale in an instant. What do you mean? She asked. Yeah, we weren't saying anything bad about you, Ava, Leo retorted. That won't work. I recorded everything on my phone. Do you want me to play it back right now? I countered. My mother-in-law fell silent, but Leo stood up. Ava, you've been causing me trouble all this time, and now you're making these outrageous claims, he barked. I pointed out that he was the one making absurd claims. Once I return back home, I'll immediately contact my lawyer to initiate our divorce procedure. You can't deny the fact that you're on a vacation abroad with another woman. Plus, you described getting with me as drawing a blank lottery ticket, so I expect you to demonstrate sincerity by paying a hefty compensation for that comment, I declared. At my words, my mother-in-law seemed to acknowledge her defeat, and her attitude abruptly changed. Ava, dear, I really like you. Please try to get along with Leo. This woman is not involved with him, she pleaded. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. Since I am a blank lottery ticket, I cannot live with Leo. Please enjoy your time with this woman. Oh, and I might also seek compensation from her. Isn't that exciting? I couldn't help but smirk as the woman in question turned pale and began to tremble upon hearing my words. Unfazed by the public gaze, Leo fell to his knees and pleaded, Ava, I beg you, don't make this a big deal. My company has strict rules about this, he implored. What's that? You don't sound sorry at all, I replied. Leo appeared taken aback, then tried again. Ava, I beg you, forgive me. If my company finds out, I'll lose my job, he confessed. Though your plea sounds better now, I will never forgive you. You are married, and yet here you are on an overseas trip with another woman, I said firmly. Upon hearing my words, my mother-in-law also fell to her knees next to Leo, pleading, please forgive my son, tears streaming down her face. By this time, all the other customers were watching us, and the restaurant manager started walking towards our table. Seeing this, I got up and said, well, Emma and I will head back to our room. You all enjoy your Singapore vacation. I guess things will get a bit difficult when you get back home. Hearing this, Leo, crying, shouted at the top of his lungs, please forgive me. Unable to afford any compensation, Leo's loud outburst prompted the restaurant manager to intervene. Frowning, the manager communicated discreetly with a staff member and then politely conveyed to Leo that he was disturbing other guests and needed to leave. Confused, Leo was taken aback and failed to grasp the manager's words. Soon after, 2 robust security guards arrived and swiftly escorted Leo away. Despite his sobbing and struggling, he proved no match for the sturdy men. My mother-in-law and the woman were left dumbfounded, unable to utter a word, while Emma and I were equally surprised by the unexpected turn of events. In my opinion, Leo had received a well-deserved consequence. A week later, Emma and I returned home. It appeared that Leo had been quickly released and had retreated to his room. However, I later learned that he had been in a state of shock since returning, maintaining a reclusive demeanor until the end of the trip. The day after our return marked the beginning of Leo's seclusion. Upon returning home, I promptly visited the law firm where my old college friend worked to initiate divorce proceedings. Unfortunately, my friend was unavailable, but a competent female lawyer was assigned to assist me. This lawyer proved to be very approachable, allowing me to share the details of the events that had transpired. After attentively listening to my story, the lawyer assured me that a divorce was feasible, and I could pursue alimony. She pledged to investigate the woman who had accompanied Leo in Singapore, evaluating the possibility of claiming alimony from her as well. A month later, the female lawyer reached out to convey the findings, revealing that it had been substantiated that Leo had been dating this other woman for approximately 5 months. Consequently, she informed me that I could indeed demand alimony from both Leo and his newfound partner. Taking advantage of this revelation, I requested the female lawyer to exert maximum effort in securing alimony from both Leo and the woman he was involved with. She responded with a reassuring smile and a nod. 3 months later, significant progress had been made in the divorce proceedings. The legal actions were unfolding, seeking the compensation I rightfully deserved from both Leo and his newfound partner. Having officially concluded my divorce, I glanced at my bank account, finding the alimony from both parties deposited. As I mumbled about the amount, I couldn't help but consider it as karma for Leo's derogatory remarks, particularly referring to me as a blank lottery ticket. 3 months later, I found Leo and my mother-in-law unexpectedly at my doorstep. Despite the brief period since our divorce, both of them had visibly lost weight and appeared utterly haggard. With a mixture of surprise and disdain, I asked them, "What do you want? I don't want to see your faces." In a thin voice, Leo replied, "I'm sorry. Could you lend me some money? I've lost my job and the woman ran away. I don't even have money for food." My mother-in-law, also speaking in a whisper, added, "I've divorced my husband too. I don't have money. Please, I beg you." She was in tears. I responded with a cold determination. "Too bad. I have absolutely no obligation to help you, and even if I did, I would never assist you now. Please leave." After they departed, I sprinkled a large amount of salt at my entrance to rid my house of the negative energy they brought with them.